Nakwedde was clearly winning by more than 14,000 votes. By the time the regime's election commission, or so-called election commission, announced the results, the candidate for the ruling National Resistance Movement party of dictator General Yoweri Museveni, Andrew Muwonge, had 31,830 votes, and the candidate Harriet Nakwedde of the NUP party had 31,308. Let me repeat that figure one more time. And if you have a pen or pencil, please scroll it down. The candidate of the ruling party was given 31,830 votes. Listen carefully to the last three digits, 830. Harriet Nakwedde was given 31,308, 380. And if you look carefully, you will see that this was a very lazy effort at rigging. The numbers 830, which are the last three digits of Muwonge's alleged results, was simply switched around, the last three digits. And that is how Harriet Nakwedde ended up with 31,308. But other individuals who are here today will talk about the details of the rigging. We'll go to the details that have now been compiled in a tally sheet and a spreadsheet based on the information compiled from the YouVote app. I will not take any much more time because I want us to leave sufficient time for journalists to ask questions. And I will encourage every individual that speaks to keep it concise and brief so that we can really get to the reporters, because that is the function of a press conference. I would just like to make one more point before I ask my co-host, David Steele, if you would like to say a few introductory words before we invite the main speakers, including the new party president, Bobi Wine. I would like to make the suggestion that perhaps the United States is now taking a more interested and closer look at election rigging and election theft in Uganda because of its own experience with the recent incident, the January 6th incident in Washington, D.C., when supporters of a particular individual tried to disrupt the normal, smooth transfer of presidential powers. I think Americans now have a better and clearer understanding of what it means to live in a country where an individual illegally holds on to power. And the United States did make a strong statement, which we must recognize, when after the so-called elections of January 14 in Uganda, which most Ugandans believe was won by Bobi Wine, who is considered by many the legitimately elected president of Uganda, the United States did issue a very important statement. The United States said the election was neither free nor fair, which is a clear indication that the United States does not recognize General Yoweri Museveni as the legitimate president of Uganda. However, there's still some shortcomings, and the leadership of the new party will today elaborate on what further actions they would like to see from the international community and the United States, in addition to providing the evidence that show conclusively that the by-election was rigged and that Harriet Nakwedde is indeed the rightful winner of these elections. So before we invite the speakers, I will now turn it over briefly to my co-host, David Steele. David, do you have a few words to share? David, I think you're muted.
Thank you so much, Comrade Milton, and welcoming all those of you who are joining us this afternoon, evening, wherever you are logged in from, to this online press conference about the by-election fraud in Kayunga. As Professor Milton has quite articulately expressed, it is evident that the regime is determined to stay in power at whatever cost. And it's no longer a case of how smart they are at rigging elections, but more a case of what can you do if we decide to rig the elections so blatantly. Later on this afternoon, like Professor Milton has said, we are going to have a number of distinguished speakers, including His Excellency Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, and the Secretary General of the NUP party. And we do invite you to pay close attention to the message, because at the end of the day, this is our opportunity to let the world know how blatant and the impunity with which the regime is operating at currently in Uganda. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I am David Steele, the founder of Uganda is Bleeding, which is an online demonstration and protest platform. We stand together in solidarity with Ugandans every Saturday at 2 p.m. GMT. So we'd like to invite those of you who are interested in standing with the people of Uganda to join us every Saturday. Over to you, Comrade Milton.
Thank you so much, David. So let's get straight into the press conference then. We invite the first speaker, who is Harriet Nakwedde, the candidate who actually, we believe, won the by-election in Kayunga. The floor is now yours. Harriet?
Yes, good evening, Professor. I'm so happy to be hosted here this evening. Once again, my name is Nakwedde Harriet, the duly elected LOC5 Chair, Kayunga, from the recently concluded by-election. I want to thank you for the opportunity that you have given to Uganda. I've read something interesting where you said, is it Uganda is bleeding? I'm happy to hear that as Kayunga is bleeding, Uganda is bleeding, and the entire world has come to notice that Kayunga is bleeding, and therefore there, where you are, you're also experiencing the bleeding of our people. I've been a candidate, just like you've mentioned, in an election that was characterized by brutality by the NRM government, which most of us believe is an imposter, especially considering the way the general elections of 2021 were conducted and rigged in the same way the ones of Kayunga have been rigged. As the people of Kayunga, we believe in change. We believe in the voice of the people. This is why even as we are going to participate in this, as you are going to engage in this election, we knew that when the voice of the people of Kayunga speak, Genome 7 and these people would be in position to listen and understand. Recently, on the 14th of December, that was the last day of our campaigns. The main candidate, Genome 7, came to campaign for the junior candidate in the race. What surprised most of us was the statement that he made, that even if you dance several times, the NRM at the end of the day will decide who will win. We thought it was a joke said, but by the appearance of that, what transpired in the whole process, we knew the old man was meaning what he said. It began with torture, arresting our people, arresting our coordinators, many members of parliament and local leaders from different areas who had come to kind of give us more support, backup, were arrested. We were beaten on the 14th day when the president, actually when Genome 7 was to come and campaign for his candidate, we were beaten. You mentioned Honorable Zake, who is right now still hospitalized. Many of us are still nursing wounds from the legitimate government of Genome 7. I want to talk about strictly about what happened on the 16th day, very early in the morning at around 6:30 to 7. Voting in Uganda is supposed to begin at 7. But as our people were going, we had curfew that was only affecting the opposition, us. So whenever people moved outside to be deployed, our people were picked. However, the NRM agents were not picked anywhere. So by the time our people reached different polling stations, we realized the ballot boxes were already stuffed. And by a gesture of complaining, asking the presiding officers what had happened, how the boxes could be full even before the time of voting had started, most of our people were beaten. I have cases of a polling station called Kayunga, where the old man who was our agent was beaten just because he was questioning how a box can be full by even before opening of a polling station. So even when we went to the tally center, but before the tally center, we also witnessed incidences at different polling stations where people could come in a drone with guns, scare the crowds at a polling station, and in broad daylight, people go and put ballots in a box. That's what exactly happened without people being picked from the polling stations. So when we came to the tally center, we had collected almost all our DRR forms, and our team was busy at our tally center doing the tallying. Despite all the rigging that was witnessed during day and in the morning hours, our team was winning. Just like you mentioned, we're winning with over 14,000 votes. So when we were in the tally center, tallying was done, but even with all the irregularities, our candidate, actually me, the NUP candidate, was still winning until they could not do anything more. What they had to do was just to go on and declare Muwonge with the magic figure that you have also looked at, because the figures, when you look at the last 3 digits, there is a lot of magic that was applied.
Right.
Surprisingly, the chairman of the so-called independent electoral commission was there witnessing and watching whatever took place. And after declaring their winner, they had to run and go out of the tallying center without even giving us the sheets that we were supposed to pick as the candidates. With this, I don't know how much time I have.
Yes, if you can try to summarize it, because we want to get to the questions and answers, so journalists can also ask you some questions. So try to summarize it without rushing too much.
All right. With this, we are still on the ground, and we want to appreciate the people of Kayunga and also give them courage, words of courage. We are in a struggle that we know is not going to affect only Kayunga as a district, but a struggle that we know has provided an opportunity for us, first of all, to expose the dictator, assure the entire world as is using police, our security agencies, as his own project or as his own company.
Harriet, did we lose you? I think we may have, Harriet, okay, you're back, go ahead. Please, try to wrap up, thank you. Are you on mute? We can't hear you.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes. I was saying that this has provided for us an opportunity to expose Genome 7 and his different people. One, it has exposed the police because, as I was telling you, our campaigns were characterized by brutality, arrests and detention. And remember, as they were arresting our people, the NRM people were freely moving, bribing people, and doing all sorts of irregularities in campaigns. We exposed the Electoral Commission by showing the entire world that even the 2021 elections were rigged, where our legitimate president, our principal, His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, was rigged in the same way. Just like we mentioned yesterday in our press conference, we said that the next step that we are taking is to go on and expose the judiciary and also show the entire world that now the junta, the dictator, has taken all that belonged to Uganda, and now it belongs to him as an individual.
Okay. Harriet, thank you so much. And obviously, we will get back to you during the question and answer with the journalists.
All
We
right.
now move on to David Lewis Rubongoya, who is the